his second state visit in just a year and a half, Pedro Sanchez's latest trip to China brought meetings with top officials and business leaders as the Spanish Prime Minister seeks to strengthen his country's trade ties with the world's #2 economy. Along that line, an apparent softening of Spain's position on EU tariffs for Chinese electric vehicles.
We don't need another war, in this case a trade war, from Spain. What we will do is to be constructive and to try to find a solution, a compromise between China and the European Commission.
What a twist. Spain has suddenly changed its mind about the European Union's plan to slap tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles. With Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez pushing for a friendlier approach, this shift could really shake up the future of trade between the EU and China.
This week on the agenda, as the Prime Ministers of Spain and Norway visit China, what does it tell us about the relationship between China, the EU, and the rest of Europe?
Let's take a step back to understand what's been going on with these tariffs. At first, Spain was all in favor of imposing tariffs on Chinese EV imports. Back in July 2023, during a non-binding consultation, they voted to support this idea.
Yuka, as the European Union prepares to impose additional heavy tariffs on Chinese-made electric cars, Spain's Prime Minister is calling on the bloc to reconsider. That's an apparent change of tack.
Change of tack. Well, Alison, Spain was among the EU countries that supported the idea of imposing a 36% tariff on China-made EVs earlier this year. But during a visit to Beijing this week, where he met with President Xi Jinping, Pedro Sanchez urged both sides to find a compromise that avoids a trade war. Last month, China hit back at the EU's move by announcing its own probe into European dairy products. Any retaliation by Beijing could hit Spain especially hard. Here's Brian Quinn with more.
The EU was looking to hit these imports with tariffs as high as 36%. Why? Because they wanted to protect European car makers from what they saw as unfair competition. The big issue is that China has been heavily subsidizing its EV production, letting companies sell their cars at really low prices. The European Commission found that these subsidies were all over the place, making it super tough for European manufacturers to compete fairly. This wasn't just about protecting jobs, it was about making sure that the EU's car industry could survive in a tough global market.
Trade tensions between China and Europe have been in the spotlight this week as the Prime Ministers of both Spain and Norway headed to China. After meeting President Xi Jinping and Premier Li Qiang, Spain's Pedro Sanchez said he believed honest dialogue between China and the EU can solve trade problems, especially with regard to current concerns over electric vehicles.
Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez's recent trip to China. Meeting with President Xi Jinping was a huge deal, and it really set the stage for what was to come. After their talks, Sanchez made headlines by suggesting that the EU should rethink its tariff plans. I have to be blunt and frank with you that we need to reconsider, all of us, not only member states but also the European Commission, our position towards this movement, he said. This was not just political talk. It was a clear sign that Sanchez was worried about the fallout from these tariffs. He pointed out that ramping up tensions could lead to a trade conflict, which would hurt both Spain and the wider European economy. Instead, he called for building bridges and finding common ground. I think that we need to build bridges between the European Union and China, he emphasized. This push for dialogue shows that Sanchez wants to foster a more cooperative relationship rather than diving headfirst into conflict. So, why is Sanchez so worried about these tariffs? Well, the impact on Spain's economy is huge. Spain really counts on exports, especially in farming and car making.
China is a really important trading partner for Spain, especially around things like dairy, like pork, like electric vehicles, all things which have been heightening those tensions between China and the European Union.
The idea of a trade conflict has got everyone on edge, especially for Spanish pork producers. In 2023, Spain sent about $1.2 billion worth of pork to China, making it one of the biggest suppliers out there. During his trip, Sanchez pointed out that a back-and-forth trade conflict could really hurt Spain's farming sector. The Spanish pork producers group, Interpork, mentioned that Spanish pork makes up 21% of all pork imports in China. If China decides to hit back with its own tariffs, it could spell trouble for Spanish exporters. Sanchez's move to a friendlier approach is all about protecting these economic interests while also trying to boost Spain's exports to China. He wants Spain to be a key player in building stronger economic ties with China, finding a balance between keeping local businesses safe and enjoying the perks of working together internationally. The EU is dealing with some serious divides over how to handle trade with China. While Spain is stepping back from the tariffs, other countries are still all in favor of them. Germany, for example, has been pretty loud about its opposition to the tariffs. With its strong car industry, Germany worries that putting these tariffs in place could lead to China hitting back, which would mess with access to one of the biggest car markets in the world. Germany has been trying to get other EU countries to rethink their stance ahead of the big vote in November. On the other hand, countries like France and Italy are still backing the Commission's proposed tariffs, saying they're needed to protect European manufacturers from unfair competition. This clash of opinions really shows how tricky EU decision-making can be, where national interests often bump heads with what's best for everyone. As the EU gets closer to this important voting period, the chance for a qualified majority to block the tariffs is becoming more important. The Commission's proposal needs approval from 15 member states representing 65% of the EU's population to pass, making Spain's shift even more significant in the ongoing talks. China hasn't been sitting back while all this is happening. The Chinese government quickly slammed the proposed EU tariffs, calling them an unfair trade barrier. In response, they've started investigations into various EU imports like pork, dairy, and alcohol, showing they're ready to retaliate against European actions.
Spain was among the EU countries earlier this year to support a 36.7% tariff on Chinese EVs. Europe has grown increasingly alarmed over a flood of cheap imports heavily subsidized by Beijing as it tries to offset a domestic economic slump by leaning on export manufacturing. Madrid, though, is now wary of the backlash. Beijing has responded with anti-dumping investigations into European agricultural products, including pork, of which Spain exported 1.2 billion euros worth to China last year. It's part of a deteriorating trade environment for European firms operating there.
This has raised some red flags for Spanish exporters, especially in farming. In 2022, China imported $1.5 billion worth of pork products from Spain, making it the top European supplier. If there's an anti-dumping probe aimed at Spanish pork, it could really hurt the industry and complicate Spain's position in the EU. During Sanchez's visit, Xi Jinping encouraged him to take a constructive role in improving ties between China and the EU. This friendly gesture shows that China is open to chatting, but it also puts pressure on Spain to balance its own interests with what the EU wants. The trade tensions between the EU and China are part of a bigger trend of worsening relations between Beijing and Western countries. As the global economy changes, countries are looking to de-risk their reliance on Chinese supply chains, reflecting growing worries about being too dependent. In fact, China's trade surplus with the EU hit $162.13 billion in the first 8 months of 2024, which is almost a 6% increase from previous year. This trade imbalance has added to the tensions and highlighted the need for the EU to come up with a solid strategy that tackles both economic competitiveness and geopolitical issues. For Spain, the trade surplus with China was $17.99 billion during the same time, a number that has stayed pretty steady compared to last year. As these trade dynamics shift, the EU has the tough job of balancing the need for economic stability with the realities of a changing global scene. Looking ahead, Spain's U-turn on tariffs could really change things for future relations between the EU and China. Sanchez's push for a more friendly approach might open up opportunities for solutions that work for both sides. By encouraging talks, he wants to position Spain as a bridge between the two regions, helping create a balanced and beneficial relationship. The chats between Chinese officials and EU representatives show they're willing to look for compromises. This could mean making voluntary commitments to cut back on exports to the EU, which might lighten the load for European manufacturers while also addressing China's worries about trade imbalances. As Sanchez keeps promoting constructive dialogue, the future of EU-China relations is still a bit uncertain, but there's potential for positive change. The upcoming vote on tariffs will be super important, and everyone will be watching Spain as it navigates this tricky situation.
Commercial ties. In sectors like artificial intelligence, the digital economy, new energy, and other high-tech fields, I wonder how you see all that working out.
Sanchez's visit to China was not just about tariffs. He also signed a deal with Envision Group, a Chinese multinational, to build a $1 billion plant in Spain for manufacturing electrolysis. These are used to separate hydrogen from water and produce green hydrogen. The Spanish leader's comments have raised eyebrows in Brussels. The European Commission, which proposed the tariffs, hasn't officially responded to Sanchez's call for reconsideration. This silence speaks volumes about the delicate situation. The Commission has to balance the interests of different member states while also protecting the EU's industrial base. Germany's position in this debate is particularly interesting. As Europe's largest car manufacturer, Germany has a lot to lose if China retaliates. German car makers like Volkswagen, BMW, and Mercedes-Benz have significant operations in China. In 2022, German automakers collectively sold 4.6 million cars in China. That's a huge market they can't afford to lose. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has been vocal about his opposition to the tariffs, saying, "We want to sell our cars in Europe, in North America, in Japan, in China, in Africa, in South America, in all the places. But this means that we are also open to get the cars from other countries." France, on the other hand, has been a strong supporter of the tariffs. French President Emmanuel Macron has been pushing for what he calls European sovereignty in key industries, including automotive. The French view is that without these protective measures, Europe risks losing its industrial base to Chinese competition. The situation is further complicated by China's response. Beijing hasn't just criticized the tariffs, it's taken concrete steps that could hurt EU exporters. The investigation into European pork imports is particularly worrying for countries like Spain, Denmark, and the Netherlands. China is also looking into EU brandy exports, which could hit French cognac producers hard. Sanchez's position seems to lean towards China. During his visit to China, he emphasized the need for dialogue and compromise. "We want to build bridges together to defend a trade order that's fair."
I think that we cannot just turn our back to China and try to ignore it. It is our key trading partner. It is a very large player. And we have a shared interest, I think, in ensuring that they engage constructively to put an end to the war in Ukraine as soon as possible, and also to avoid global market fragmentation, which is going to be lose-lose for all of us. You know, the world, we were just, before we started this open exchange, you know, we were just saying we're living right now a massive tectonic plate shift of the geopolitical order that has been so to the benefit of our economies and our citizens since the end of World War II. Now these plates are shifting, and we need to ensure that that doesn't mean that we are moving backwards instead of continuing to progress and bring prosperity throughout the world.
He told Chinese Premier Li Qiang, "These moves by China are seen as a clear message. If the EU goes ahead with the EV tariffs, China is ready to retaliate where it hurts. Spain has learned the lesson, and it's conceivable that other EU countries may soon find themselves in a similar position, forced to reassess their support for the tariffs as China's countermeasures begin to bite."
Our president has repeatedly stated that we want to become a member of BRICS.
For decades, Turkey has stood at a crucial crossroads, both geographically and geopolitically. As a key NATO member and EU candidate, Turkey has long been seen as a vital link between East and West. But recent developments have sent shockwaves through Western capitals, leaving many to wonder, what's next for Turkey's place in the world? To understand the magnitude of Turkey's recent moves, we need to revisit the complex history of its relationship with the West. Turkey joined NATO in 1952, just 3 years after the alliance's formation. Its strategic location made it an indispensable partner in containing Soviet influence during the Cold War. Turkey's NATO membership has been a cornerstone of its security policy for over 7 decades, providing it with a seat at the table of the world's most powerful military alliance. However, Turkey's journey towards European integration has been far more complicated and fraught with challenges. Turkey first applied for EU membership in 1987, under the leadership of Prime Minister Turgut Özal. This move was seen as a natural progression of Turkey's westward orientation, which had been a defining feature of its foreign policy since the founding of the modern Turkish Republic in 1923. Despite being granted candidate status in 1999 and beginning formal accession talks in 2005, progress has been painfully slow. The negotiations have been marred by political disputes, concerns over Turkey's human rights record, and cultural differences. As of 2024, Turkey has opened only 16 out of 35 required chapters for EU membership, with just one provisionally closed. The process has effectively stalled since 2019, reflecting the deepening rift between Ankara and Brussels. Several factors have contributed to this impasse. The EU has expressed serious concerns over the erosion of democratic norms and the rule of law in Turkey, particularly following the 2016 coup attempt and the subsequent crackdown on opposition figures, journalists, and civil society organizations. The ongoing dispute over Cyprus remains another major obstacle. Turkey's refusal to recognize the Republic of Cyprus, an EU member state, and its continued military presence in the northern part of the island have further complicated its EU aspirations. But it's not just the EU relationship that's under strain. Turkey's place within NATO has also become increasingly complicated, leading to the current shockwaves reverberating through the alliance.
Mr. President, it's good to see you again. I'd like to be with you, and we're this historic summit meeting, resolving a lot of things, I hope. And we made all the more historic by the agreement you reached yesterday and the addition of Sweden and how you're going to proceed. And thank you for your diplomacy and your courage to take that on. And I want to thank you for your leadership, Mr. President. This summit is reaffirming our commitment to naval defense, close allies in NATO, and I hope we can make it even stronger. So welcome.
Mr. President, my dear friend, I would like to first of all thank you for congratulating me in the aftermath of my re-election to my current post. And I'm grateful for the congratulatory messages that you have extended to me. And within the framework of our strategic mechanism, I think it's high time for the heads of states to get together for further consultations. That's why I believe today's meeting with you within the margin of the NATO summit is the first step forward. Our meetings prior to this were mere warm-ups, but now we are initiating a new process. This new process is a process of 5 years, and now you are getting prepared for the forthcoming elections. And with the forthcoming elections, I would like to take this opportunity to also wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. I look forward to meeting with you for the next 5 years.
Under President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, Turkey has pursued a more assertive and independent foreign policy, often at odds with its NATO allies. This shift has been driven by a combination of factors, including Turkey's desire to assert itself as a regional power, its growing disillusionment with the West, and Erdogan's own political ambitions. One of the most contentious issues has been Turkey's decision to purchase the Russian S-400 missile defense system, despite vocal opposition from NATO. This move, finalized in 2017, led to Turkey's expulsion from the US-led F-35 fighter jet program and triggered sanctions under the Countering America's Adversaries Through Sanctions Act. The S-400 deal was seen as a clear signal of Turkey's willingness to pursue its own interests, even at the cost of antagonizing its long-standing allies. It raised serious questions about Turkey's commitment to NATO and its compatibility with the alliance's defense systems. But the tensions don't stop there. Turkey's military operations in Syria, particularly its offensives against Kurdish forces that have been key U.S. allies in the fight against ISIS, have further strained relations with NATO partners. These actions have led to accusations that Turkey is undermining the coalition's efforts in the region and pursuing a destabilizing agenda. Despite these challenges, Turkey's strategic importance cannot be ignored. Its control over the Turkish Straits, the Bosphorus and Dardanelles, gives it a crucial role in Black Sea security. This has become even more significant in light of Russia's invasion of Ukraine and the ongoing conflict in the region. Moreover, Turkey's role in managing migration flows makes it a crucial partner for the EU. The 2016 EU-Turkey refugee deal, while controversial, has been instrumental in reducing the number of irregular migrants entering Europe through the eastern Mediterranean route. However, President Erdogan has not hesitated to use this leverage for political gain, occasionally threatening to open the gates to Europe if Turkey's demands are not met. This has led to accusations of blackmail from European leaders and further eroded trust between the two sides. As Turkey's frustrations with the West have grown, it has increasingly looked eastward for new alliances and opportunities. This pivot is perhaps the most shocking development for EU and NATO leaders, who have long counted on Turkey as a reliable Western-oriented partner in a volatile region. Turkey's interest in joining BRICS, the economic bloc comprising Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, has raised eyebrows in Western capitals. President Erdogan attended the 2018 BRICS summit in Johannesburg as a special guest, expressing Turkey's desire to join the group. In 2022, he reiterated this ambition, stating that Turkey's membership in BRICS would give the group a new dimension. This pivot is driven by several factors, including Turkey's desire to diversify its international alliances and reduce dependence on Western institutions. Economically, Turkey sees BRICS as an opportunity to strengthen ties with large, growing markets and potentially explore alternative financial systems. Turkey's trade with BRICS nations has grown significantly in recent years. In 2021, its trade volume with the 5 BRICS countries reached $61.5 billion, accounting for 14.4% of Turkey's total foreign trade. This represents a substantial increase from previous years and underscores the growing economic ties between Turkey and these emerging powers. The recent expansion of BRICS to include countries like Egypt, the UAE, and Iran has further piqued Turkey's interest. This enlargement, which took effect in January 2024, has transformed BRICS into an even more significant global player, potentially offering Turkey a powerful alternative to its traditional Western partnerships. Turkish officials stress that joining BRICS complements, not replaces, NATO commitments, leveraging Turkey's position as a bridge between power blocs. This eastward pivot has shocked the EU and NATO, prompting a reassessment of their approach. In response, the EU has proposed a 3-pronged strategy for 2024 to deepen trade relations with Turkey. This includes enhancing diplomatic engagements, resuming European Investment Bank operations, and modernizing the customs union. The latter is particularly significant as an updated agreement could expand beyond industrial goods and processed agricultural products, potentially boosting bilateral trade substantially. However, Turkey's path to EU membership continues to face significant opposition from several member states. France, Germany, and Austria have been among the most vocal opponents, citing concerns over human rights, democratic standards, and cultural differences. French President Macron advocates for a partnership with Turkey instead of EU membership, citing incompatibility with European values under Erdogan. Austrian Chancellor Nehammer calls for terminating Turkey's EU accession process. NATO faces a precarious situation. Turkey's strategic importance and military strength make it a crucial ally, but its unpredictable behavior strains relations. As NATO's second-largest army and controller of the Turkish Straits, Turkey holds significant leverage. The alliance must balance maintaining Turkey's engagement while addressing member concerns, especially given Turkey's actions in Syria, S-400 purchase, and opposition to certain NATO decisions like Sweden and Finland's membership bids. Turkey's geopolitical shifts impact global dynamics. Russia and China court Turkey, seeking to weaken Western ties. Russia aims to undermine NATO, while China increases investments. Turkey's assertive Middle East policy reshapes regional relations, though recent reconciliation efforts indicate potential rebalancing. As we look to the future, several key questions remain. Will Turkey continue to drift away from its Western allies, or can a new equilibrium be found? How will Turkey's potential alignment with BRICS impact global power dynamics? Can the EU and NATO find a way to address Turkey's concerns while maintaining their principles? What impact will Turkey's evolving foreign policy have on regional stability in the Middle East and Eastern Mediterranean? How will Turkey's domestic political situation, particularly the opposition's growing strength, influence its international orientation? NATO fears a weakened southeastern flank. Despite tensions, hope remains for recalibration, given Turkey's economic ties to Europe and aligned security interests. Western leaders must engage Turkey constructively while upholding their values. The relationship's evolution may lead to a new understanding or a fundamental realignment. Turkey's next move is crucial, with profound implications for the global order in the 21st century. Turkey's $20 billion nuclear project just took a shocking turn when Germany's Siemens Energy refused to deliver critical parts. With Russia now buying from China to keep the project alive, what's really happening behind the scenes? The Akkuyu nuclear power plant, located in Turkey's Mediterranean province of Mersin, is a $20 billion project with 4 reactors totaling 4,800 megawatts of capacity. The project stems from an agreement between Turkey and Russia signed in 2010. Initially, Turkey planned to launch the first reactor in 2023. However, delays have pushed the start date to 2024, with the remaining reactors scheduled to come online by the end of 2028. Siemens Energy's non-delivery will delay the launch of Akkuyu's first reactor by several months, Bayraktar told the state-run Anadolu agency. He suggested the decision likely stems from Western sanctions over Russia's war in Ukraine. A Siemens Energy spokesperson confirmed that some parts were not delivered to Turkey due to German export regulations. Some parts were delivered a long time ago, but not for a good year now due to export customs licenses that have not yet been issued. We must of course comply with the export regulations, the spokesperson said. The withheld equipment is intended for a gas-insulated substation to transmit electricity from the plant to Turkey's grid. This component is crucial for the project's completion. In response to the delay, Rosatom, Russia's state nuclear energy company, has sought alternative suppliers in China. Bayraktar stated, "There are alternatives. Rosatom already ordered alternative parts from Chinese firms, and they will come from China." Rosatom's subsidiary, Akkuyu Nuclear, confirmed this move. Rosatom therefore ordered the equipment from Chinese manufacturers to keep up with project deadlines. Turkey's government has expressed strong dissatisfaction with the situation. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan raised the issue with German Chancellor Olaf Scholz during a bilateral meeting. Erdogan stated, "This has seriously bothered us. I reminded German Chancellor Olaf Scholz of that in our bilateral meeting." Bayraktar criticized Siemens Energy's decision, describing it as a political decision on an issue that is not subject to any international sanctions, financing, or legal problems. He added that the issue was raised at the highest level. The Turkish government is considering potential consequences for Siemens Energy. Bayraktar said, "Especially a company that has such a strong presence in the Turkish market should pay a price." He added, "This attitude will make us question their position in future projects." Turkey maintains close ties with both Moscow and Kiev and opposes the European and US sanctions on Russia imposed after Russia's 2022 invasion of Ukraine. Bayraktar argued, "If the purpose here is implementing sanctions against Russia, then it is Turkey which is suffering the damage." Despite these challenges, construction of the Akkuyu plant has progressed significantly. The first reactor is over 90% complete, and nuclear fuel was loaded into the first power unit in 2023. Once operational, the plant is expected to produce around 10% of Turkey's electricity needs. The Akuyu project is central to Turkey's energy strategy. Nuclear energy plays an important role in reaching Turkey's 2053 net zero emission target. The country plans to build nuclear power plants in 2 other locations after Akuyu. The intergovernmental agreement signed between Russia and Turkey in May 2010 for the Akuyu nuclear power plant outlines 4 VVER 1200 power units with a total installed capacity of 4,800 megawatts. Construction began in 2013 and accelerated in 2018. The agreement limits local ownership of the plant at 49%, requires the first reactor to be commissioned in 2025, and includes a power purchase agreement at a guaranteed price. Turkey's pursuit of nuclear energy has raised concerns among some international observers. NATO views Turkey's relationship with Russia as a delicate balancing act that often causes tension within the alliance. Turkey, a key NATO member since 1952, has pursued closer economic and political ties with Russia in recent years, particularly in areas like energy and defense. This has been exemplified by major agreements such as Turkey's purchase of the Russian S-400 missile defense system, which triggered U.S. sanctions and raised concerns about the compatibility of Russian technology with NATO systems. The European Union has also expressed concerns over Turkey's energy cooperation with Russia. In 2019, the EU imposed punitive measures on Turkey, including freezing certain membership talks and halting defense contracts in response to Turkey's energy exploration in the eastern Mediterranean. The United States has made efforts to constrain Rosatom globally. In April 2023, the U.S. State Department stated it would constrain Rosatom, given that it uses energy exports, including the nuclear sector, to exert political and economic pressure on its customers globally. Despite these international concerns, Turkey continues to pursue its nuclear energy goals. The country is in negotiations with various countries for additional nuclear projects. Yusuf Saylan, Director General, Nuclear Energy and International Projects, Ministry of Energy told Reuters, "The USA is showing serious interest in Turkey's goal of increasing its nuclear energy capacity and building new power plants. We are negotiating with the USA for both large-scale power plants and small modular reactors. This is a statement of intent." Saylan also mentioned ongoing negotiations with South Korea and Russia for a second nuclear power plant planned for the Black Sea region of Sinop, and with China's State Power Investment Corporation for a third plant in northwestern Turkey's Thrace region. Turkey's ambitious energy plan aims to build 3 4-reactor nuclear plants and complement them with small modular reactors, SMRs, for a total of 20,000 millibarrs of generation capacity. This strategy is designed to diversify Turkey's electricity production mix and reduce its reliance on energy imports. The Akuyu project has created thousands of jobs, with around 80% of the workforce being Turkish citizens. It also includes educational initiatives, with Turkish engineers being trained in Russia to eventually take over plant operations. Turkey's energy policy extends beyond nuclear power. The country is actively pursuing partnerships in oil and natural gas fields abroad. Energy Minister Bayraktar noted that Turkey has partnerships in Azerbaijan's oil and gas resources in the Caspian Sea, including a 20% share in the Shah Deniz project. Turkey also has a partnership in 3 oil fields in Basra, Iraq, generating 15,000 barrels of oil revenue per day. Bayraktar expressed interest in expanding Turkey's role in these sectors, stating, "We need to be more active, more intense, and more active in oil and natural gas fields." He also mentioned potential projects in Libya and Somalia. In addition to these efforts, Turkey is working to increase its domestic energy production. Exploration activities are ongoing in the Sakarya gas field in the Black Sea region. Bayraktar reported that a production level of over 6 million cubic meters has been reached in this field, meeting the natural gas needs of 2.6 million households. The minister outlined ambitious production targets. "Our goal is to reach the 10 million cubic meters target in the first phase. We will exceed 7 million cubic meters by the end of September, but we will reach our first target of 10 million cubic meters in the first quarter of 2025. Turkey's energy strategy also involves diversifying its energy sources and expanding its role as an energy hub. Bayraktar noted, "While we ensure our own supply security by importing gas from as many different sources as possible into our country, diversifying it, and expanding our supply portfolio, we are also working on shipping additional capacity to Europe." The country has started exporting natural gas to several countries, including Hungary, Romania, and Bulgaria. This expansion of Turkey's energy role comes at a critical time, as the potential closure of Russia's gas transit via Ukraine to the European Union at the end of the year could create serious supply security issues for Europe. Turkey's growing energy cooperation with Russia has led to a significant increase in trade volume between the two countries. In 2023, the trade volume exceeded $65 billion, continuing a trend from the previous year. Over the past 5 to 6 years, the bilateral trade volume has tripled, driven by increasing energy and economic cooperation. Energy remains the cornerstone of the Turkey-Russia trade relationship. Russia is a major supplier of natural gas to Turkey, with deliveries made through the Turkstream pipeline. In 2023, Russian President Vladimir Putin proposed establishing a natural gas hub in Turkey, which would enable gas to be traded and priced independently of Western markets. Turkey and Russia have also made efforts to reduce their reliance on the US dollar in bilateral trade, opting to increase transactions in their respective local currencies, the Turkish lira and the Russian ruble. This shift is part of a broader strategy by both nations to diversify their trade settlement mechanisms and reduce vulnerability to international sanctions and currency fluctuations. A significant portion of the push toward local currency trade has been in the energy sector. Russia, as one of Turkey's primary suppliers of natural gas, has increasingly accepted payments in rubles. This shift became particularly important after the imposition of Western sanctions on Russia in response to its invasion of Ukraine. Turkey has also enabled the use of Russia's Mir payment system in its banking sector, facilitating transactions for Russian tourists and businesses. This supports local currency usage in trade and tourism, further strengthening the financial cooperation between the two countries. The growing cooperation between Turkey, Russia, and China, as evidenced by Rosatom's decision to source equipment from China for the Akuyu project, marks a further deepening of ties between these nations. This cooperation follows Turkey's bid to join the BRICS group of emerging market nations, which includes both Russia and China. Despite all the challenges, the Turkish government remains committed to the project. Energy Minister Bayraktar has emphasized the importance of nuclear energy in Turkey's future energy mix. He stated, "Nuclear energy plays an important role in reaching Turkey's 2053 net zero emission target." The Akuyu plant is being built under a build-own-operate model, which is a first for a nuclear power plant worldwide. Under this arrangement, Rosatom will not only construct but also operate and maintain the plant, ensuring its long-term functionality.
Turkey has transformed itself from client to competitor. So far, Turkish defense companies have produced drones, tanks, and helicopters, among other gear. But a much more ambitious project is now in sight.
Holy crap! Turkey and China have just launched AI-driven military robots that shocked the United States. Turkey unveiled the Steel Dome concept at the International Defense Industry Fair in Istanbul. Aimed at competing with Israel's renowned Iron Dome, this system integrates a wide range of technologies to create a robust and adaptable defense network. Utilizing network-centric technologies and artificial intelligence, the Steel Dome can process vast amounts of data in real time, accurately identifying and neutralizing various threats including rockets, missiles, drones, and artillery fire. While the Steel Dome protects from aerial threats, China's response takes the fight to the skies with the Winglong 2. Developed by the Chengdu Aircraft Industry Group, this UAV is pushing the boundaries of aerial warfare. With a payload capacity of up to 480 kilograms and the ability to stay airborne for up to 32 hours, it's redefining long-range operations. But China isn't the only one making waves in drone technology. Turkey has unveiled the Bayraktar TB3, an advanced UAV that's a direct challenge to US dominance in military drone technology. This naval powerhouse is designed to launch from short runways or ship decks, enhancing Turkey's maritime capabilities in unprecedented ways. The TB3 boasts a wingspan of 14 meters and a maximum takeoff weight of 1,450 kilograms, carrying a payload of up to 280 kilograms. It's equipped with advanced sensors, electro-optical infrared cameras, synthetic aperture radar, and precision-guided munitions. With the ability to stay airborne for more than 24 hours at altitudes up to 30,000 feet, it's a game-changer for long-duration missions. But Turkey's innovation doesn't stop at large-scale drones. The Kargu-2 is a quadcopter drone that uses machine learning algorithms to operate autonomously. This isn't science fiction. It's a reality changing the face of modern warfare. The Kargu-2 is designed as an anti-personnel weapon capable of selecting and engaging human targets based on machine learning object classification. While Turkey focuses on aerial threats, China is taking AI to the ground. In a shocking display of technological prowess, China has introduced a robot dog armed with a machine gun. During recent military exercises, this AI-powered quadruped was seen entering buildings ahead of soldiers and firing bursts of bullets as it advanced on targets. This development blurs the lines between human and machine decision-making on the battlefield. These technological advancements aren't just changing how wars are fought, they're altering the very nature of warfare. As Turkey and China push the boundaries of military technology, they're challenging the US's position as the world's preeminent military power. This isn't just an arms race, it's a race for technological supremacy that could reshape the global order. The United States isn't sitting idle. They're intensifying efforts to develop next-generation military technologies. However, the question remains, can they keep pace with the rapid innovation coming out of Turkey and China? Meanwhile, China continues to innovate with the WZ-7 Soaring Dragon. WZ-7 Soaring Dragon, another game-changing UAV, the WZ-7 is characterized by a unique joined-wing design that improves aerodynamic efficiency and stability. It's equipped with advanced sensors and radar systems for real-time ISR operations over vast areas, including airspace and maritime regions. With a wingspan of 24 meters, it's capable of providing detailed targeting information, enhancing situational awareness, and supporting various military operations. Not to be outdone, Turkey has its own stealth drone in development. Developed by Turkish Aerospace Industries, the Anka-3 represents a significant step in UAV evolution. This stealthy unmanned combat aerial vehicle is designed for high-end reconnaissance, combat, and intelligence gathering missions. Its low observable design enhances stealth capabilities, making it ideal for operations in contested environments. The Anka-3 is expected to support a wide variety of missions, from intelligence and surveillance to air-to-ground strikes and potentially electronic warfare operations. But when it comes to stealth technology, China is pushing the boundaries even further. China's GJ-11, also known as the Sharp Sword, is a stealth unmanned combat aerial vehicle developed by Aviation Industry Corporation of China. It features a sleek, flying wing design that reduces its radar cross-section and enhances stealth capabilities. Equipped with an internal weapons bay, it can carry various types of munitions while minimizing radar visibility. The GJ-11's autonomous operation capability allows it to execute complex missions without human intervention, demonstrating China's commitment to developing next-generation military capabilities. The development of these advanced military technologies by Turkey and China has far-reaching implications for global security dynamics. These innovations are not only challenging U.S. military superiority, but also reshaping the landscape of modern warfare. As these technologies continue to evolve, they will undoubtedly reshape the future of warfare and international relations. The global community must grapple with the implications of these advancements, balancing the potential benefits with the risks they pose to global stability and security. What do you think about this global military tech race? Could it lead to unprecedented advancements in defense technology, or might it increase the risk of conflict? Will it bring countries together in a new era of deterrence, or drive them apart in an escalating arms race? How will these advancements in military technology affect global security? Will they make the world safer by reducing human casualties in conflict, or more dangerous by lowering the threshold for military action? And what role should citizens play in shaping the development and use of these technologies? The power of these next-generation combat drones and military robots is set to redefine the battlefield. But where exactly that path leads remains to be seen. The implications for global military power, strategic dynamics, and even the ethics of warfare are profound. Think of semiconductors as the oil of the 21st century. Just as oil fueled the Industrial Revolution, these tiny chips are powering our digital revolution.
Well, China's Huawei is challenging NVIDIA with a new chip for artificial intelligence, according to the Wall Street Journal. Huawei has reportedly told potential clients that the chip is comparable to NVIDIA's H100.
In a stunning development that's sending shockwaves through the tech world, Huawei has unveiled its latest high-end AI chip, the Ascend 910C. This isn't just another processor, it's a direct challenge to NVIDIA's H100, the current gold standard in AI computing. The Ascend 910C isn't just a technological achievement, it's a bold statement in the ongoing silicon showdown between the US and China. If Huawei's claims hold up, this chip could potentially reshape the global AI landscape, tilting the scales of technological power in China's favor. In 2022, the US decided to play hardball with China's tech ambitions. They rolled out strict export controls, telling American companies, no selling top-notch chips or chip-making gear to China. The goal was clear: keep China from accessing cutting-edge semiconductor technology and slow its technological advancement. But here's where it gets interesting. Faced with this digital blockade, China didn't throw in the towel. Instead, they launched a massive, all-out push to develop their own chip technology. We're talking billions of dollars poured into research and development, state-of-the-art facilities popping up across the country, and a national rallying cry for tech independence. Despite, or perhaps because of, the US restrictions, China's semiconductor production has skyrocketed. We're seeing a jaw-dropping 29% increase compared to the previous year, but that's not all. In a move that's left analysts scratching their heads, China managed to import over 1,000 advanced lithography machines. Each of these machines costs around $10 million. Do the math, and you're looking at a serious investment in chip-making muscle. Dr. Dieter Ernst, a leading expert in the tech world, puts it this way: China's push for tech self-reliance is accelerating in response to US pressures. In other words, the harder the US pushes, the harder China pushes back. This unexpected turn of events is raising a critical question. Did America's chip ban accidentally light a fire under China's semiconductor industry? It's as if the US attempt to put out a fire has instead doused it with gasoline. The fallout from this semiconductor showdown extends far beyond geopolitics. Remember the great chip shortage of 2021 that made buying a new car feel like scoring tickets to a sold-out concert? That was just a preview of how chip politics can disrupt daily life. Now, consider the implications of China potentially dominating chip production. It's not just about consumer electronics. We're talking about the foundation of emerging technologies like AI, quantum computing, and 6G networks. These game-changing innovations all hinge on advanced semiconductors. Whoever leads in chips leads in these transformative technologies. And right now, China's making a serious play for the top spot. The US government's concerns go beyond economic competition. The revised rules were clear about US worries over China's plans for advanced AI capabilities. The document stated, advanced AI capabilities, facilitated by supercomputing, built on advanced semiconductors, present US national security concerns because they can be used to improve the speed and accuracy of military decision-making, planning, and logistics. They can also be used for cognitive electronic warfare, radar, signals intelligence, and jamming. This statement underscores the dual-use nature of semiconductor technology. What powers your smartphone could also enhance military capabilities, blurring the lines between civilian and defense technologies. China isn't taking these restrictions lying down. In response to the latest US moves, China has criticized the new rules, stating they will disrupt the international semiconductor market as well as cooperation among enterprises. But China's actions speak louder than words. Reports suggest that China is taking steps to block the use of American processors in government computers, instead favoring Chinese chips. New guidelines reportedly instruct government offices and Chinese Communist Party entities above the township level to use safe and reliable systems, including processors and operating systems developed by Chinese companies. This push for self-reliance extends to chip manufacturing as well. Various provincial governments in China are ramping up subsidies for chip manufacturing. Companies like Semiconductor Manufacturing International Corp and Huawei appear to be major beneficiaries of these subsidies. In Shanghai alone, 191 major projects are set to be subsidized, including 2 of SMIC's 300mm production lines currently under construction. The U.S. isn't throwing in the towel just yet. Enter the CHIPS Act, a massive $52 billion investment aimed at boosting domestic chip production. It's an attempt to rebuild America's semiconductor muscle, which has atrophied over decades of outsourcing. The results are starting to show. There's been a surge in electronics factory spending in the U.S., with investments hovering near all-time highs. But here's the rub. While America's build-out is impressive, it's still playing catch-up to China's breakneck pace. While the U.S. government has been successful in getting its companies and allied partners to comply with tighter regulations, Western companies are not particularly happy at the prospect of losing China's business. NVIDIA, for instance, used to have a 90% share of China's AI chip market. The company's head, Jensen Huang, reportedly said in June last year that continuing U.S. export control regulations will lead to permanent loss of opportunities for the U.S. industry. ASML, another critical player in the chip and semiconductor industry, has also raised concerns. ASML CEO Peter Wennink warned that cutting off China could drive innovation within the country, potentially making China more competitive at the cost of others. He stated, "There are 1.4 billion Chinese, many of them smart. They come up with solutions that we have not yet thought of. You force them to become very innovative." These industry voices highlight the complex interplay between national security concerns and economic interests in the global semiconductor market. The semiconductor saga continues to evolve. In late March 2024, the Biden administration released revised rules that will further tighten China's access to U.S. artificial intelligence chips and chip-making tools. These new restrictions, set to take effect within a week of their announcement, are designed to maintain the effectiveness of previous controls, close loopholes, and ensure the durability of the restrictions. According to media reports, these revised rules will also affect laptops containing advanced chips. Moreover, the U.S. is reportedly planning to compile a list of advanced Chinese chip factories that will be barred from accessing American technology. This list is intended to aid better compliance with U.S. sanctions. These moves come on the heels of the Commerce Department's suspension of licenses for dozens of U.S. suppliers selling chip-making materials and parts worth millions of dollars to China's Semiconductor Manufacturing International Corp. This step was taken after SMIC developed new Generation 7 nanometer chips for Huawei, a development that raised alarm bells in Washington. As we stand on the brink of this new era in the chip wars, one thing's for sure, the semiconductor saga is far from over. It's a high-stakes game of technological cat and mouse, with global supremacy hanging in the balance. Will China's unexpected triumph reshape the tech landscape? Can America regain its silicon crown? And how will this digital drama impact your life? The answers to these questions are still unfolding. But one thing's crystal clear. In the 21st century, the power to change the world fits on a fingertip. And right now, China's fingerprints are all over it. As long as the great power rivalry between the US and China persists, and China continues to utilize these advanced technologies for enhancing its military capabilities, it's unlikely that the US will slow down or relax its export control measures. Business, trade, and technology interests may complain, and they may have valid points about the economic consequences of these growing restrictions, but political and national security interests will ultimately prevail. This silicon showdown is more than just a battle for technological supremacy. It's a contest that will shape the future of global power, influence the development of cutting-edge technologies, and potentially affect every aspect of our increasingly digital lives. From the smartphone in your pocket to the next breakthrough in artificial intelligence, the outcomes of this chip war will reverberate through our world for decades to come. As we watch this technological tug-of-war unfold, remember, the chips may be microscopic, but the stakes couldn't be higher. The future of global power, cutting-edge tech, and maybe even your next smartphone all hang in the balance. This silicon showdown is just getting started, and the world is watching with bated breath to see who will emerge victorious in this high-stakes game of technological chess.